What's up, Cowboys Nation? Hey, welcome back to Cravin Cowboys. Thank you guys for joining me this afternoon. Look, I'm right on time. Well, not according to my stream, but 4:20 is, very important time for me. So thank you guys for joining me this afternoon. I know I've been kind of MIA. If you guys have followed me long enough, it's the holiday season. Thanksgiving passed. It's definitely Christmas season now. We're kind of well into December, and you guys know I work for the post office, so I've definitely been busy working. Longer hours, working my days off too. It's just kind of been a struggle, as you guys can see from my notes. Please, very important to me. Make you guys please thank your local mail carrier. And not just your mail carriers. If you happen to run across, the FedEx guy, the UPS guy or girl, what I'm saying, that there's people out here delivering, Amazon at their cars, they got the vests on, it's, out vans, things like that. Just make sure that you guys say thank you, thank these people that are here, doing something that they don't have to do. I know they're, working to get extra money, but they don't have to be doing that, what I'm saying? And, it's definitely, I actually had somebody stop me on my route, before I kind of, thank you guys for, while we kind of get into the show. Make sure you hit the like button, hit the share button. We're not going to be here, too long. Just want to do kind of a quick show. I know I've been kind of, like I said, I've been gone for a little bit, so I just want to kind of talk just some news and things from this week. Us playing the Giants for Thanksgiving. We got the Bengals coming up on Monday night. So just doing a quick show. Just happening with Cowboys Nation right quick. But and shout out to JVB boy in the building. What's up? It's great to see you too as well. And anybody else watching, great. Thank you guys for your time for joining me this evening. And and if you guys want to, make sure you guys tap in. Let me know that you guys are watching. Like I said, hit like, share, subscribe. So that way other people know that I'm live too, and they can kind of join the stream as well. And kind of really just keeping it all the way real, kind of just an off the dome type show. Don't really have anything kind of created. Like I said, just been kind of busy. So, like I said, we're going to talk just some of the news and updates we've seen during the week. Of course, I'm sure you guys seen the news about Zach Martin having season-ending ankle surgery. Unfortunately, I know he's dealing with, I think, an ankle, a groin, I think, earlier in this year. And then they say he's also, I think, dealing maybe possibly with a shoulder that he's dealing with as well. So just really just kind of banged up, dealing with different things, just as the season kind of goes on. So, shout out to Zach Martin. It just kind of, it just kind of sucks, just kind of like the story of the Cowboys season, guys going down kind of at the wrong time, big name guys, not just, secondary guys that, depth wise, but, we've seen Dak go down. We've seen Eric Kendrick, miss a couple of games. Brandon Cooks, he made his way back last week, versus the Giants. Very good to see him in the game. Didn't get a lot of work, but just enough to get his feet wet, kind of get work back then with the team. Had a touchdown that he caught, and had some very crucial third down catches that he made in the game as well. So still just showing just how important he is to the team, because we have been seeing drop passes from some of the other guys in the wide receiver room. Tolbert, he has some big catches as well, but just in my opinion, just maybe seeing Brandon Cooks back in the field definitely brings me a little bit more comfort as far as the wide receivers. Turpin, still turning up. He had a couple of big plays last week as well versus the Giants, and then we already know what he's doing, in the return game. So definitely glad to see, him, getting worked in more as far as offense. Like I said, very good to see Brandon Cooks return, because, as far as just in my opinion, just not. I'm not gonna say he doesn't have the best hands, but they are, and Cooper Rush, was kind of high on some of them passes in the Giants game. But, sometimes he does, when the defender is kind of close on Brandon Cooks, he is, kind of known to not catch the ball. So, like I said, very happy to see him back, with some crucial catches, in the game. Shout out to Keystone in the building. What's up, fam? He said, why you look cold in the house? I know. I just got my actually hopped on here. Like I said, I think I have it in the description. I'm really just getting off work. About an hour or so ago. I had to kind of set up. Let my dog out and everything. I said, what? Before I kind of get settled in at home and kind of chill and everything. I just I figured I just really hop on live right quick. Kind of when I have the energy to do so. Before I, like I said, before kind of settling at home. And yeah, I know, it's I'm on the East Coast, as you guys know, weather on this side can be kind of up and down, but it's definitely been down. Temperature like in the low. I think 43 degrees. It says right here in the mid 40s. Earlier I think yesterday we only got to like 39 degrees. Like these, but what's crazy is tomorrow it's going to be like either tomorrow or Monday it's going to be like 60 degrees or something like that. So it's just especially DMV wise, living here, pretty much my whole life, like the weather is always just so crazy back and forth. So it's wild. But yeah, that's why I'm kind of, I still kind of have my stuff on from work. So I just said, let me, kind of just do the show, before I get too comfortable, kind of before I chill for the night. But let me see. Yeah, just kind of talking about, we had Brandon Cooks kind of come back and kind of talking about other guys who kind of showing up. And actually, I'll put that on the screen, while as you guys kind of come in, just kind of, if you guys want to, interact with me, I kind of had this question for anybody kind of coming in. If you guys want to talk in the chat, who impressed you most in the Giants game, and really from this past week, I'll kind of put together the Washington game and the Giants game just because 2 games in less than a week, 2 wins at that, 2 divisional wins. It's good to see the Cowboys kind of get that. At least for me, in my opinion. Divisional wins are always tough. For no matter who you face. We've seen this this past weekend. With the Steelers, or a couple weekends, I'll say a couple weekends ago with the Steelers and Ravens, but even with going Steelers and who did they just played? Damn, I'm trying to think of the top of my head, but I think it was Steelers and Ravens who just played. And shout out to the Steelers. They're definitely coming together well. They didn't even play any kind of, at least maybe outside of one, but they really didn't even play any divisional games. Really, I think the first 8 to 9 weeks of the NFL season. So to see them kind of, they were actually kind of get able to get their footing together and really kind of, create like a badass team. And besides Russell Wilson doing his thing, he's really, kind of just showing why, Tomlin has so much confidence in making him the starter. Shout out to Justin Fields too, kind of taking it as kind of still being a young player, still, probably just knowing that he, still has a future somewhere. And Tomlin being the coach he is, he's not, doesn't seem to be the type of coach to kind of give up on him. He knows Tomlin is going to be there for the future as well, so he could possibly, even if Russell isn't there for too long, depending on how long he is there, he could have a future there, underneath, Tomlin, who's able to kind of able to kind of groom him in a way to kind of get him ready for the position. So it's kind of good to see that, at least in my opinion, for Justin Fields to know, to kind of get some rapport going with the coach himself, the coaching staff, and also learn under Russell Wilson. I'm saying, and also still kind of get opportunities to kind of come in the game, and kind of like our Trey Lance, right? Or what we would have hoped to see Trey Lance be able to do in some of our kind of games. But it's kind of like the Steelers too, like when Justin Fields comes on the field, they're doing like an RPO package or something like that. So it's not really a surprise. You know what I mean? Yeah, Keystone says, yeah, we're getting the same in North Carolina. Yeah, man, this weather it's getting cold quick. Usually it doesn't really get too cold until like late December, but for whatever reason, like right after the Washington game, at least for me, and I was lucky to be able to catch that Washington game, in about 60-degree weather. To have to sit outside in that, turned out to not be really a bad day, because right after that, it just, it went straight to the 40s. So that was pretty crazy. It was good. TWY, man, thank you for joining us. Really appreciate you for joining us this afternoon as well. And like I said, shout out to everybody who's in the building as well. Let me see. I missed a comment. Let me see. Yeah, JV said, oh, actually, before I get to that, shout out to Lamont Graham tapping in from the Facebook side. Really appreciate you, fam. Thanks for tapping in. Just talking a little bit of Cowboys this afternoon. Yeah, like I said, thanks for tapping in. And if you guys have anything any topics or any players you want to bring up, like I said, let me hide this right quick. Any players like who impressed you in the Giants game, make sure you guys, put your answers in the chat, as we go on with the show. Let me see. Okay, yeah. So JV says now Overshown is dealing with the hamstring. Yeah, man, that's. And I really hope that's something I want for Overshown, because me and my dad kind of talked about this. That it seems like every hit that he takes or every hit that he tries to give, he kind of wants to be like a missile on every play. And it's like, I hope he kind of learns to kind of taper his strength, or kind of taper some of those tackles to maybe not puts so much into each one to where each one, kind of rocks him. Not only rocks the player he's trying to hit, but also rocks himself. You know what I mean? Because even in this past game, we saw him go down. I think a couple times, at least one time, trying to catch his breath, and it's like, man, like I really, every time that we, at least for me, every time I see anybody go down, it's just, it kind of, you kind of hold your breath for a second, but especially with Overstrong, it's like, man, he's turned up so well. You just want him, to kind of pace himself and just hope that, he can stay on the field. Let me see. Yeah, and Keystone mentions Rico as well. Yeah, I'm really happy that Rico, number one, got his first 100-yard game. I think in at least his NFL career. Someone correct me if I'm wrong, but I think this is his second season. Actually seeing the regular season. So, and actually surprisingly, at least for the Cowboys, it's their first 100-yard rusher from a running back. Since week 3 of last season of 2023. So I was shocked to hear that. And also kind of like, I didn't know that was the first time in over a year. Now that's it's no wonder that we had, the 32nd ranked, running back room coming into this season, because it's kind of like, man, like we haven't had a 100-yard rusher all season until now. It's like, dang, bro. It's like, that's unacceptable, as far as, play calling wise, personnel wise. I know we've been kind of getting blown out earlier in the season, but since week 3 of last season, like even last season, we didn't have a 100-yard rusher with having Pollard. So it's just like, that just shows, that really just goes to show our issues with the running game. And we've been talking about that, Cowboys Nation have been talking about that for forever. Just the issues that the Cowboys have had with the run game. You know what I'm saying? So it's not a surprise, but I would definitely say it's a surprise for me to learn that we haven't had a 100-yard rusher from last season. So it's just like, man, it's but I'm very happy that it was Rico. You know what I'm saying? Like I said, I'll keep saying this until I'm blue in the face. Like I was definitely a Rico advocate. Since training camp, I've shown the clip. I had it. I think it's still pinned to my Twitter page. If you guys follow me on Twitter, for my player interviews that I had, during training camp, this past in 2024, where, I was talking to Rico and I'm like, hey man, I think he could be running back 1. I'm saying a lot of people were saying, running back 2. And the only reason I said running back 1 is because he has the tenure, he has the seniority, in my opinion. And, well, of course, outside of Zeke, we know as Zeke returned and came back, but it's just like, even with Zeke being gone, Rico, was teaching Zeke the playbook when Zeke came back. So why not just give Rico that kind of vote of confidence? Like, okay, we know you've worked, you put the time in. Why not, give him the starting position, right? Then we saw as the season went on, McCarthy, said that he was going to be running back 1 and that they were giving more touches. And we saw against the Giants, we saw versus Washington that he had at least 15 plus. I think in Washington, it said he had 19 carries, and I think versus the Giants, I think he had 22 carries, at least 20 plus carries versus the Giants, and it was good to see him get a rushing touchdown as well. And I believe I think he said he had 3 receiving touchdowns, but for him to get his first rushing touchdown of the season, very good. I think it brings him, like I said, brings him maybe a spark in his confidence, and also brings a spark to his offense that we've seen the run game being active these past few weeks, but to finally see number one, the accurate amount of touches that Rico deserves in the game, and we didn't even see that much of Zeke. What I'm saying? We didn't see that, of course, not much of any. And at least for me, it's kind of sad. I think they had kind of they play into the sidelines where they showed Dalvin Cook and showed Deuce, kind of talking to each other. And it's like, man, like even Dalvin, like I'm always bummed about Deuce kind of being inactive, but it's kind of like Dalvin kind of came back and he had a couple games to play, but it's like, man, we never really, we really couldn't get him involved. It's just like so many guys are on this roster that we aren't seeing, and it's crazy that we're kind of like in the evaluation kind of part of the season, and we're just not able to see a lot of these guys. So I think would be very important to see right now. Hey, what's up, John Jones? Thank you for joining us. Appreciate you joining us this afternoon. Like I said in the beginning, hit the like button, hit the share button. And actually, I keep forgetting to put this back on the screen. My bad, y'all. But just make sure you guys remind me that the show. I'm just asking everybody as you guys come in, Just let me know who impressed you the most in the Giants game, and who stood out to you. Was it a tight end? For at least for me, as you guys know, I'm huge on the tight end group, especially coming into this season. As far as thinking that like me and Star talked about on our show, us possibly having one of the better tight end rooms in the league. Not having the best tight ends, but having the best tight end room because we have young guys coming up. Lip cross training between that and running back. Brevin Spanford. We have Luke Schoolmaker, who's is finally coming along. I think it just took him kind of getting his confidence up. I think it's doing wonders for him. I think for him having really two big games back to back, versus Washington as well, and having big catches in the game. I think one that it was like 15 plus yards, and also in this game he caught a lot of, at least for me, he seemed to catch a lot of the soft zones, in the middle of the field, where some of them linebackers are, right? And he's a big body, he's a tall guy, and you see, he has no problem taking contact. It seems like now he's able to kind of absorb some of those hits and still kind of push upfield, right? That's what we're kind of waiting to see. For me, he was kind of like, at least like I said, for me, kind of like a Schultz part two, kind of a Schultz part two where you can kind of catch the ball and go down. Not really a wiggle room type, tight end, right? Not really a yak type guy, right? And I'm not saying he's that now, but at least in this past game versus the Giants, I like seeing that he was able to kind of break some tackles. It took 2 or 3 guys to kind of bring Schoonmaker down, and like I said, just as the game went on, you see his confidence kind of increase with each catch. And each catch just kind of meant a little bit more, you know what I mean, as far as being important times in the game. And I think that with him stepping up, Brevin Spanford, he had some big catches as well in this game. And in the Washington game, I think he only maybe had a catch or two. But I think not only sometimes the amount of receptions, or sometimes not even the amount of yards, it may not be important maybe to some of these young players. And I think just looking for the opportunity just to be on the field, and just like I mentioned with Schoonmaker, I'm sure with Brevin Spanford, it's the same thing where each time he catches the ball, it just kind of increases his confidence as to where he's on the field, and kind of gets them working to the game, and just it brings a spark to the offense. Getting more guys involved is better for not just for them, and also Cooper Rush as well. He's able to kind of spread the ball around. It helps Mike McCarthy with the play calling because now he knows that some of these guys can be a little bit more reliable as far as moving the ball down the field. I mean, it's like the Cowboys, I'm not going to say they have no problem with moving the ball, because we do sometimes have, snap infractions. Cooper Beasley was kind of off a couple times in the Giants game. I think it was the Giants game or the Washington game. I can't remember which one, but he had a couple bad snaps. But we know Cooper Rush, has been kind of bobbling some snaps, these past 3 games as well. But it's good that they don't lead to anything major, right? I mean, that's one thing. We don't want to see the ball turned over. This past game against the Giants, I don't think we had any turnovers, just that one bobbled snap. So it's good to see that they're doing better in that aspect. Mike McCarthy definitely mentioned that in his presser, and he mentioned that on this show, this weekly show that he does, the Mike McCarthy show. That it's great that you guys are protecting the ball more, and especially in I think that kind of helps them kind of have more trust in Cooper Rush, because and that's I think that's something that we should understand, right? I mean, Cooper Rush just needed time to kind of come back, get work back in with the offense, kind of get back into the game speed of everything. And first game out, it's been a while. What I'm saying, it's been a while since he actually been on the field and took those game snaps. So good to see that these guys are actually kind of getting some rhythm going. We saw not a lot of tempo, but we do see some 2-minute drills from time to time. So I think that once these guys get more, I'll say once these guys get more time together, as time goes on with the offense, and as like I said, as more guys get involved, keeping Turpin involved, keeping, and that's another thing I noticed too, like kind of a CD Lamb kind of being out. I'll say for the most part of the second half of the game, it was kind of a little disheartening, wondering if he was dealing with an injury or anything like that. And I don't think he's dealing with a specific injury, but we do know that he's kind of taking the beating. And I actually kind of think, mentioning the tight end room, talking about, we're talking about kind of Jake Ferguson and CD kind of at the same time, because I just think that this year, they're just both taking, they're really getting beat up, right? We're talking about, CD kind of being the heart and soul of the offense. Well, it takes a lot, you kind of have to, carry the team at times. Like if the guy, the guys from, the rest of the guys in the wide receiver room, the rest of the tight ends weren't stepping up at the times that we needed. So, CD kind of had to bear the brunt. He had to be the one to catch the passes when he's already being, you know, double covered, triple covered at times. So he's taking those hits. He kind of bulked up for that, right? He bulked up in the offseason, and it's, you can tell that he does look bigger, but he's still taking those hits. He's getting beat up. Guys are hitting that shoulder, the AC joint that he's dealing with. So, he just getting, he's taking a lot of hits, and the same with Jake Ferguson. He may not be getting the targets, the yards that we're used to seeing, but they had him a lot on the offensive line, kind of helping out with Tyler Guyton, helping out with Terrence Steele, and taking on those defensive ends. You know what I'm saying? Taking on those linebackers. You know what I'm saying? Taking those hits. At the same time, trying to get his yardage, trying to get his numbers for the season, right? And it's just that kind of took a toll. Even he said in albeit short interview, he did. He was open and honest about it. If you guys go back and watch about how much the concussion actually affected him. And it's scary to see. You see these guys go down. Some of these guys pass out. We saw that with Trevor Lawrence. He passed out, I think, shortly. We've seen that. With Tua Tagovailoa, Chris Olave. Damar Hamlin go through these serious injuries where you never really know what goes on, right? And to hear Jake Ferguson, really speak specifically about some of the experience, that he had. If you guys actually, let me bring it up. I think I have it. On Twitter. Let me share my screen with you all. Yeah, because he actually talks about it in his interview about how he says that he woke up one evening, looking for water, and I think he said he just burst into tears because just something was going on with his mind, and I was actually wondering, like, I think I said this on my last live. I think before the Washington game that one thing was why he was out, because usually concussions are last about a week and then the player's right back. What I'm saying? So for him to be out a couple games, it was just kind of like, wow, like, I definitely just maybe kind of think twice about, if you guys don't mind that. Let me see. Patrick O.C. Walker tweeted out. Let me see. Jake says, I had, quote unquote, he says, I hadn't cried like that since my dog died in middle school. I stopped, like, what's going on with me? What's wrong with me? The Cowboys Pro Bowler said it was at that moment he understood how scary concussion can be. So he followed every instruction given by specialists to recover completely before returning. Fully cleared now and took some hits in practice today. Says no ill effects and he's back to normal. So, yeah, so you never really, at least for me, I'll speak to that and say I never really know what these guys really go through when they suffer these concussions or suffer these serious head injuries. I think, if you guys watch the Thursday night game with the Lions and Packers, I think it was McNeil who went to the locker room with a head injury. You know what I'm saying? You can never really be too careful, right? This is already, a dangerous game, heavy contact game. So it's, you really can't, you gotta take these injuries serious, especially when, like I said, when it comes to the head. Yeah, like JB said, this has been an injury-plagued year. Yeah, a lot of, and not just just as far as injuries go, a lot of big-name guys. Like we saw a lot of major receivers, saying quarterbacks, going down. We just seen, like I said, Trevor Lawrence. He just went to IR. Like I mentioned earlier, Dak. He went down. Just Stephon Diggs. He went down early this season. Just some guys you wouldn't expect. I'm saying, to miss time. I'm saying, D-Law, and this just you have a whole list of guys for missing time just on our team alone. So you can imagine the rest of the NFL. So it's just definitely sad to see. But hopefully these guys can kind of just take the time they need, like Jake Ferguson said, take it serious, take the time they need, to be away from the game and just to realize just how important it is to not take it for granted, but just be careful in everything that they do. It's, as far as the rehab it takes to come back. And actually, some other tweets I have. Let me see what other tweets I have bookmarked. Just the practice. Let me see, practice schedule. Not practice schedule. Excuse me. The practice injury report. And this actually, I think as of an hour ago, I say hour and a half ago, about 3:00, they sent it out. Tyler Guyton, Trevin Diggs and Nick Vigil. They're actually all listed as questionable as of right now. And I believe, let me see, yeah, and actually below that, CD Lamb. Some of the guys who were kind of limited earlier in the week. I believe, let me see, Jordan Lewis, he was limited early in the week as well, but they actually returned to practice, full strength this week. Deron Bland, Brandon Cooks, all full in practice this week. So that was definitely a good thing to see. These guys returning back. Like I said, major pieces returning, and I think that not only brings, a spark to the guys who are returning, but also kind of brings a spark to the room. We see when Micah come back, what kind of spark he can have. We seen what Brandon Cooks can bring. Well, as soon as he comes back. So and I think this is, a lot of people kind of took it as tongue in cheek. Micah said that we have a good football team, and I'm sure he meant, the starters that we have. We have all our starters in, but even the depth guys, I'm sure that they, they're not, of course, they're not as good as our starters, or else they'd be starters. But I think it says something when our depth guys can step up. When we do have, even, just talking about Tyler Guyton being questionable. That's another guy I kind of want to talk about. Awesome Richards. That's one guy. If you guys can, if you guys agree with me, or let me know what you guys' thoughts on this. That's one guy that impressed me in the Giants game. Awesome Richards. Just number one, stepping in, with Tyler Guyton going down early in the game. But, just to kind of the energy he showed, he going against, Kayvon Thibodeau, definitely, easily this, second, third best guy on the Giants defensive line. Just the energy he showed against I think his very first play in there, he was actually get back and forth with Kayvon Thibodeau, and just kind of, putting up, fight, going back and forth, shoving back and forth. Even Dexter Lawrence kind of stepped in there a little bit, kind of shoved them back and forth. And I just love that, he just kind of, stood tall and just actually I'm sorry, not Awesome Richards, Chuma Edoga. I do love what Awesome Richards, has done at the left tackle position. But Chuma Edoga, I'm sorry, forgive me, please. Chuma Edoga is who I wanted to give a shout out to, and who I loved just how much fight he showed against Kayvon Thibodeau, and just, as well as protecting, Cooper Rush's left side, and just remaining, pushing guys to the outside, remaining, pretty much on his feet for most of the game, not really getting bullied, as cause he did a pretty stand-up job for us as well last year, but just not in a favorable way, I'll say. So I think he's, that time he's kind of taken away. I know he's missed a lot of the camp, last year and this year, but seeing him, like I said, seeing him kind of show that fight, on those first couple plays, him returning back to play, and just kind of, seeing what he can bring to the O line, albeit all the injuries that we are going through. I think it says a lot about what, the time that he's taken while he has been away from the team, but taking those snaps seriously that he does take in practice. Like I said, I just want to give, my shout out to Chuma Edoga, because I really think he showed something in this game. He showed that, even with our main guy, kind of dealing with, injuries. It says right now he's dealing with the ankle/knee. Yeah, as far as Tyler Guyton, I'm saying that injury that he's dealing with, is good to see that, we have a Chuma who's willing to step up, and also Awesome Richard, because we weren't even sure, with guys going down, who could even play the position. So it's good to see that we have two guys ready, to play that position. And speaking of, guys going down, and on the O line as well, we heard early this week with Zach Martin, going to have that season-ending injury, going to have the surgery on the ankle. We know that Brock Hoffman now is going to step up in that starting position, and take over for Zach Martin. And it's good to see, Brock, Brock Hoffman, was in that battle for the center position, back when BB first came in. So, and he showed he can, play for Zach Martin, I think, last year. He got some snaps last year, I believe, in the guard position. So, and also at the center position as well. So, he's definitely, fluid in both positions. And, we see the fight that Brock Hoffman, brings on the field. We saw we can bring in training camp. So it's good to see him kind of, show that same kind of grit against other players. And it don't matter who you are. You can be Dexter Lawrence. You can be, I think it was Nunez Roches, on the Giants, that he was going up against. That he wasn't backing down. So it's just, I love the fight that he brings. Good to see that he's not, like I said, like I mentioned in previous lives, not kind of taking, too much time with it. But I like the force that he brings, and I love that, that can also bring fight, with the other guys on the line. We know Tyler Smith, is a just a beast on the line, in his own right. So it's good that hopefully he can kind of bring a spark, to whoever, Cooper Beebe. We know he said himself he loves the dirt guy. So it's good to see our own line, can do well, even if our starters are down. And just another note, another tweet I kind of favorited from Todd Archer. A couple hours ago, he says, of course, talking about Trayvon Diggs coming back, another guy that we can have come back this year, to come back this week, excuse me. Like I said, another major guy, the injury report. He said it could be the first time that Diggs, J. Lou, and Deron Bland play on the field at the same time, and it's like I didn't even realize that, that we haven't had our starting three, in a long time. We Deron Bland has missed the entire, season up until, could have played in the Lions game, but decided to kind of take his time, kind of wait out, make sure he was ready, and it's like I said, shout out to Jake Ferguson, Deron Bland taking his time to make sure he was, right coming back as well. I think it says something that these guys aren't rushing back. And I think that, especially guys, I think next year, I think Deron Bland this year, but next year Jake Ferguson is in the contract season, so it's good that they'll be able to come back and hopefully play, at full strength, because we don't want these guys, possibly, going through re-injury or anything like that. Like we just seen, if you guys watched the 49er game, I heard from my pops that the McCaffrey now is out. He ended up, I think, suffering re-injury, so and that really sucks, man. Like it's especially for McCaffrey, because we know he's gone through, with injuries before, but he was really having, I'll say last season, even coming back off of injury, he had, seemed to be what seems going to be a good game, and he's running tough, and maybe his body wasn't fully ready, to play at that speed, and it's unfortunate, to see guys have setbacks, but hopefully he can, take the rest of the year off, take the time away to be able to decide to when he can come back. Let's see. Oh, but yeah, like I was saying about Trayvon Diggs, J. Lou, and Deron Bland all playing, on the field at the same time, and this actually comes at the right time. Hopefully, like I said, fingers crossed, they can all play this upcoming Monday night, because that's definitely one thing that the Cowboys are going to need, versus the Bengals. They have a crazy pass game. Joe Burrow, I think he leads the league in, I believe, yards. Jamar Chase leads the league in touchdown receptions. I believe leads in. I believe it leads in receptions as well. Either leading in receptions or tied with CD, or at least going into this past week, going into week 13, he was tied with CD Lamb for receptions, in the league. So, not just Chase. They're bringing T Higgins. They're bringing Mike Gesicki, the tight end. I'm saying I think he used to be with the Dolphins, I believe it is, and not just and I know that it hasn't, at least for me, I haven't really heard a lot about their run game, because they have crazy weapons in the pass game, but and not just Chase Brown, but I didn't even know, like I didn't know that the Bengals got Khalil Herbert from the Bears. Used to be their backup running back, Montgomery, when he was actually there. So, and I actually kind of wanted, Khalil Herbert. I think when he was up for waivers, or when the Bears gave him permission to request a trade or something like that. And I was like, man, like he's a speedster out the backfield. He was a good supplement to David Montgomery, I thought. And I don't know if he got that much opportunity with the Chicago. I didn't really watch him, a ton like that. But from what I did see from him, he was, like I said, a good supplement. I wouldn't say a workhorse running back. Just how like the Ravens have like a Justice Hill, or I'm trying to think of, try to maybe other smaller stature running backs who have the speed that I think Khalil Herbert, because I think he is a little bit on the smaller side, but I just love that he shows versatility, also catching passes at the backfield as well. So I would have loved the chance to have Khalil Herbert. I think this is only, I think maybe his only third, maybe fourth year in the league. So still very young, and I think could have did something for us, but now now he's on the Bengals, so I think they used him a little bit in their last game. I'm trying to think. Yeah, versus the Steelers, I think it was they played. They played, and that was another division game that they played that the Steelers played. Kind of late in the season. But I think in that game they scored. Both teams scored over 80 points in total. So that just shows just high powered. Just shows how high powered the Bengals offense is, and the Steelers as well. I mean, I know we didn't play that exact Steelers team, but outside the quarterback, but like I think that was still a hard fought win, at least on our part. And then seeing Cincinnati, seeing how many points they can score and how quickly they can score as well. You know, it's just I saw Isaiah Stanback say this on one of the Cowboy shows they did this week, and it's like he says like, look, they have to score. The Cowboys have to score 4 touchdowns. Period. Like to be able to keep up with Cincinnati, they got to score. Don't matter if it's offense or defense. He said it doesn't matter how it happens, but they got to score 4 touchdowns. Just to be able to even think that. Just to be able to even think to keep up with Cincinnati, you know what I'm saying? Like I said, Joe Burrow, I think in the last 3 games has had 3+ touchdown passes, 300 plus yards. Like this is no this is the best looking for I think 4-8, whatever their record is, 4-8 team I've ever anybody has ever seen. You know what I mean? Because they just end up a lot of their I think I'm trying to think of the stat I've seen that I think 7 out of their last 8 games have come down to like the final possession. And they some of the games they lose by a point or two or a point or so or maybe a possession or something like that. So it's just like when they played the Chiefs, playing the Steelers, it came down to the last second. Playing the Ravens, games like that. And these are really really great teams that they played that they get down to the last minute, the last possession too. So imagine them having to face the Cowboys. It's like now it's just like they were saying on that particular show, the pressure is definitely more so on the Cowboys to be able to try to keep up with the Bengals offense. Yeah, yeah, like JB just said, we like our guys, yeah, and you know it, and we've seen that what the philosophy has done for our team specifically. But I like that they put faith and confidence in our young guys. But it's just at certain moments, and I know, especially for this year, you can't help injuries, so these young guys have to step up eventually. But when you're active in free agency and you're instilling that confidence in the young guys instead, well, you got to deal with the aches and pains of the time that it takes for these guys to come on and to be able to learn the scheme and things like that. So that's also it kind of goes hand in hand with having such a young team. But yeah, just kind of talking a little bit more on the Bengals. And yeah, I'm actually gonna get out of here soon. Yeah, looks like yeah, I'll be getting off here soon. But yeah, just talking a little bit more about the Bengals. I think that the way they operate, like I said, as far as their offense, I just like their run game is for me is really just it's for me like they're kind of like the sneaky part of the Bengals because they can move the ball with ease. Burrow is just a monster in the pocket. No matter if the pocket's collapsing or he just finds a way to just evade, the D line altogether. It's going to be a challenge, you know what I'm saying? More so I think for the second level guys, our linebackers, I think they'll be able to, I think they'll be able to handle Burrow. But as far as whether he'll dump it off to Chase Brown at the backfield because he's very dangerous, especially in the red zone. I don't know, I don't think he leads the league in rushing touchdowns, but I think he has at least 5+ for the year. And probably more, I'm probably lowballing that because like I said, I haven't been watching them the entire season, but at least 5+, you know what I'm saying? Very dangerous in the red zone, and like I said, with Joe Burrow being mobile, it's not just Chase he can find in the end zone. It's not just Higgins. He can also find Chase Brown as well. So, and I mean Jamar Chase. It's not just Jamar Chase, but also Chase Brown. He can catch passes in the end zone and just, or rush into the end zone. So it's really like a pick your poison with the Bengals. It's not going to be easy. It's not going to be, it wouldn't be for me, in my opinion, it wouldn't be easy for the Cowboys with any team at this point. I'm saying, but especially the Bengals, their record, of course, doesn't indicate who they are, and just just how strong, their offense is. And as far as their defense, not, I know they have, I believe his name is Cam Taylor Britt. I can't think of his name right now, but he's a linebacker over there. And of course, Hendrickson, I think leads the league, or at least has 11 sacks this season. Sorry about that. Has 11 sacks this season. And I mean, and like I mentioned earlier with Cooper Rush just kind of being, I don't love that because shout out to Cooper Rush, but for me he's kind of scary in the pocket. You know what I'm saying, when guys kind of get in his space, I know he just kind of he's just trying to get rid of the ball and kind of dirts the ball to make sure that kind of prevent the turnover. But man, like it's like right when he sees the defender in his face, he's like, okay, I'm done. Or like boom, like he just dirts the ball, and it's like, bro, like I don't know, like I said, I don't know if he's just scary or I know he's trying to prevent the turnover, but it's like, man, like, ooh, sometimes it's kind of, like kind of hard to see that because seeing, of course, when Dak was in there, seeing him, and even Trey Lance, it's kind of mobile, maybe tries to make things happen, or he can kind of run. And even, I mean, we've even seen Cooper Rush trying to be mobile, against the Giants, and we've seen, luckily he was down, luckily his knee was down, but I don't want to see Cooper Rush try to be mobile because that almost turned into a fumble in the end zone. You know what I mean? If his knee hadn't been down, you know what I mean? So it's just, or I think it was knee, his elbow, something was down that kind of negated the fumble. So definitely not wanting to see Cooper Rush go into motion. If you're going to do that, or not go into motion, but kind of being mobile, maybe kind of scatter for a couple of yards, maybe. But I don't know. That was definitely scary hours. Seeing that ball bounce out of his hand. So I just definitely protect the ball. Versus Cincinnati, because they already score. Well, I'll say this: when they have the ball, it's already likely that they'll score, or at least move the ball down the field. Now they'll either score a field goal, what I'm saying, or for a touchdown. What I'm saying, they're more than likely to score. But the one, I think, of course, like Mike McCarthy been talking about protecting the ball, but the one thing the Cowboys can't do is give them extra possessions, because giving them extra possessions is just like, especially in their own territory, like it'll just be too easy, you know what I mean? So I just really hope that the Cowboys protect the ball in this game. And actually, one final thought I'll say is that I think this will really be, I don't want to say the real test for the defense, but because we've seen the team that this defense has faced this season, and a lot of these teams, like the Ravens, what I'm saying, even the Texans, they were shifty and tricky for us as far as stopping the run and things like that. But I think this will, like I said, with the firepower that the Bengals have on their offense, I really, really think this will be a true test as far as stopping the run and as far as coverage. I mean, the last couple games, I'll give another shout out to Donovan Wilson. I love what I'm seeing from him. Kind of getting back, just kind of getting back to what, at least in my opinion, what he does best. Get at the line. Being as part of those blitz packages. And also, I know he's not the best in coverage, but he's getting, in my opinion, he's getting a little better. He's still not the best in coverage, but I think he almost had an interception this past week. I know with what's his name, Zach Wilson, the backup. I forget his name right now, but the backup for I'm sorry, not Zach. Drew Lock, the backup for the Giants. My bad. But I know it was Drew Lock, out there, quarterbacking, but he almost had an interception. I'm saying, definitely showing his speed. I think he has a couple sacks in the past couple of weeks. And I tweeted this earlier this year that I really wanted to see if we could possibly see Donovan Wilson get back to his 2022 self, where I think he had 6 sacks I think on the season. I don't know how many sacks he has this year so far, but I think he I mean, there's a few weeks left. What I'm saying, we have some quarterbacks who aren't all necessarily mobile. I think we have Baker Mayfield coming up. I think we have the well, actually no, because I take that back. Yeah, Baker Mayfield probably will be the only quarterback that we see that isn't necessarily mobile, and even he can kind of get out the pocket too as well. So yeah, because we got Philly again in Washington again, I think in the final week, and of course we got Joe Burrow coming up here soon. So me see. JB says, "Amazing how the Dak haters like dink and dunk now." Yeah, we don't even hear that anymore. You know what I'm saying? As far as dinking and dunking, you know what I'm saying? Because and honestly, I'm not even sure why that would be a problem. 'Cause and it's not even just this year, but we really Cowboys haven't really had a problem, at least that much of an issue. I know we haven't. I know. The offense kind of stalled out, against the Giants, at times and in other games as well. But we don't necessarily have an issue moving the ball up and down the field. It's just we have more so red zone issues. You know what I'm saying, being effective in the red zone, scoring points, outside of field goals and things like that. So it's just like, we can move the ball. Even in previous years, we can move the ball. Even last year, we had the red zone issue. We could move the ball. Even with Dak being in there, we just had red zone issues. Whether it was play calling, whether it was, just miscommunication. I know Dak missed CD in the end zone a couple times. And he had fumbles. At the 1 yard line, things like that. So it's just like it's the red zone issues, and even then bleeding kind of into this season. It was kind of annoying to see, but it's like. So like I said, I'll take that. I'll take being able to move the ball down the field. You know what I'm saying? Because we see with some offense, and it kind of pertains to us too now. Having Cooper Rush, but there were even times, even with Dak, where if we were pinned deep into our own territory, it was kind of hard to get out of there, kind of hard to dig out of that hole. So it's like field position is definitely crucial for the Cowboys. So like I said, as far as ball security and things like that, and not giving the ball to the Bengals in our territory, but it's going to be important for us to be able to get good field position and to be able to move the ball so that we can get into their territory and score. Because every yard helps, every return helps. I know they keep the ball away from Turpin, but he's doing this thing, whatever. Even when he does, on punt returns and things like that, he gets us, good field position. So it'll be interesting to see, especially with against this particular team coming up, just how well we do fare, just how well the Cowboys do fare, because it's one thing to face like the Texans, who are kind of struggling right now, as far as offensively, their line, kind of been given, kind of having issues. Washington seemed to kind of, I ain't gonna say stall out, but they really didn't do a lot offensively, versus us, and of course the Giants, they really didn't do a lot. So like I said, it'll be interesting to see just how, hopefully play calling can just, keep rolling. McCarthy just, stay consistent, spread the ball around, get our guys involved, and, don't put the game too much into Cooper Rush's hands. He can't. That's one thing I will say. Cooper Rush has been making those throws. I like his accuracy. It seems to be getting better, each week. I do love seeing that. I do love seeing the deep passes to CD. Like I said, the accuracy, and seems, passes to Turpin. And like I mentioned earlier with the tight ends, we saw that the pass to Schoonmaker in the end zone. Like granted, he had to go up and leap for it, but even this past game, in the Giants game, he was showing great accuracy when going to Schoonmaker, and even though Schoonmaker kind of bobbled a couple of those, he still caught it. And they were great passes, and they were, I believe they were. I think most of, if not all of Schoonmaker's catches he caught with seam passes. So I love the fact that they're finally utilizing the middle of the field, but not just that, but using our big body guys. I love seeing Schoonmaker, love seeing Brevin Spanford out there catch those passes, and saving some of those boundary plays for Tolbert, who has the strong hand, for catches like that. Who if he just keeps developing, just remaining consistent, he could be what we've seen in Gallup. You know what I mean? And, hopefully, like I said, just remaining consistent, because we definitely need all our guys to step up. And I think I meant to actually, before I get out of here, I meant to have this up on the screen about, who you guys think who should improve going to the Cincinnati game. Make sure you guys, before we get out of here, if anybody, is in the chat, let me know, some players who you guys think who needs to improve going to Cincinnati. And I don't think I mentioned anybody, but hold on, let me get out of here. All right, there we go. All right, let me put this up here. And yeah, like I said, like who you will you guys be looking at to improve in the Cincinnati game? Like I think I kind of mentioned when I was talking, like I'm looking for Cooper Rush to kind of improve some of his ball security. Like I mentioned with the bobble pass and things like that. Kind of get the chemistry back between both Coopers, if you will, Cooper Rush and Cooper Beebe. hoping that they can kind of get, back on the same page and not so many bobble snaps, not so many high snaps or low snaps or anything like that. Because like I said, we definitely can't afford any extra possessions to go to the Cincinnati Bengals. But I think, let me get this. All right, there we go. Yeah, but I think I'm trying to think. 'Cause like I said, I like what Rico was doing. I like what our receivers were doing. I love what our tight ends are doing. I really, I like number one. I like McCarthy. I like McCarthy is using him first of all. Like I think I mentioned this earlier on in the season that you know, with it being McCarthy, I would think McCarthy's favorite position. He hasn't really been using them a lot. Even with Jake Ferguson was still out there. So that's another thing I'm looking forward to. That with the return of Jake Ferguson to see if we see some two tight end sets, if we see, maybe with some of these red zone packages, extra tight ends, doing some blocking, so that we can run the ball more in the red zone. That's one thing I'll say. Another improvement I would like to see as far as play calling. Definitely run in the red zone. I'll say 2 R's. Run in the red zone because there was even a couple times that was pointed out by I believe I think it was Brady who called our game. Was it Brady who called our game on Thanksgiving? And he even said there were a few times when we got in the red zone and we hardly ran the ball. McCarthy was throwing the ball a lot in the red zone. I just want to see, and of course Rico eventually got his rushing touchdown. But it's like after so many attempts of throwing the ball, of course you would like to, of course you got to be like, okay, let me run it now. You know what I mean? So I definitely want to see, more detail, not more detail. Well, yeah, more details when it comes to the play calling. As far as situationally, definitely more, more rushers in the red zone because I think that'll help, not just with the red zone possessions, but also help with, as far as when it comes to moving the ball down the field. I think that'll kind of, help, with the chemistry as far as the line and things like that. All right, so I'm not really seeing much in the chat, so I'm gonna go ahead and actually just go ahead and get out of here. And since I think I covered pretty much everything, like I said, happy holidays. I really appreciate everybody joining. Make sure you guys hit the like, share, subscribe button. If you guys aren't subscribed already, I'm still trying to get my numbers up. As the season goes on. I'm still cheering my team on, still cheering my guys on. Love that they're showing fight. I like that they're continuing, trying to stack dubs. I have, seen, talk about my McCarthy possibly coming back next season. Dak came out and said that he was kind of campaigning for him, things like that. And I really have no feelings towards it until something happens. And then I'll talk about it because like the whole like back and forth thing. I really don't know how I feel about it. I know I wanted Mike McCarthy gone, but I mean to Dak's point, if he had more of his like he said, more coaching on his own terms, things like that. I can understand that, but at the same time, like McCarthy said himself, he has had the opportunity. So it's just like, what was he doing with the opportunities when he did have them? So I'm kind of on the fence, as far as McCarthy. Because I can understand, why Dak will want McCarthy back, but I can also understand why McCarthy would need to go because I was highly, highly disappointed and just highly upset with some of the play calling and just some of the inconsistencies and just not remaining consistent with what worked. Like when we did see Rico, running, having, 3-4 yard gains, averaging 4 yards a carry, I think almost his entire season, I think, but just not remaining consistent with the run game. That's things that kind of, made me mad about McCarthy. You know what I'm saying? And granted, fourth feeding season in the beginning of the year, you kind of had to get him in the rhythm, but, not incorporating Turpin sooner, not incorporating the tight ends sooner. That's one thing that definitely ticked me off about, play calling with McCarthy. So, like I said, some things like if McCarthy improved on those particular things, but it's just so many things he has to improve on. It's just like, are you going to give him another chance to do that? Of course, it remains to be seen. How the rest of the season goes. I know Cowboys got hit hard with the injury bug this season, but it's just like, man. So yeah. So McCarthy can only help so much, but with what he does have. Like even like, and I mentioned this. The last thing I mentioned is that even with Cooper Rush in there, you see him open up. At least in my opinion, you see the playbook open up a little bit more. You see a little bit more of the ball being spread around. Like I said, you see more passes in the middle. You see more tight end usage. You see more play action. You know what I'm saying? It's just like, or it's not just with Cooper Rush in there, but also because even when Dak was in there, like it seemed like when the team had to be like in dire straits. You know what I mean? For McCarthy to open up the playbook, and it's like if a lot of people were saying that if the energy you showed, in the Ravens game when you were trying to come back, you know what I'm saying? Or I think there was another team we were trying to, I think he had to come back again. I think it was Atlanta or the Texans, one of those games where the Cowboys had another almost comeback where they almost won. And, a lot of people's things were, if you just showed that fight from the very start of the game, you know what I mean, then I think that would make a huge difference. You know what I mean? So it's just things like that need to change. But like I said, it's just so many things that need to change. It's like, is he going to change these things? And if he does, is Jerry going to be more active in free agency now that he's seen this season where I ain't gonna say that he wasn't active because they did bring guys in, but and we saw the guys that they brought in, and shout out to them for the guys who did end up sticking around, and like Kendricks, you know what I'm saying, who was able to make a difference. You know what I'm saying? We've seen, granted he's been kind of on the injury report. Nick Vigil kind of did his thing when Kendricks did go down, for that one game. I'm trying to think of Limbaugh Joseph. He's been a decent player for us, although he hasn't been the biggest standout. And that's another point I wanted to make, and that's definitely the last thing I'll say. Carl Lawson, at least in my opinion, has definitely been a great pickup for the Cowboys off season. I just love the pressure that he brings to the quarterback. I mean, I said this when he first kind of came in, and although he was a little bit winded in that third preseason game, but he was one of the only edges who was, before Golson started getting his feet underneath them, really one of the only edges really bringing pressure to the quarterback. You know what I'm saying? And I also love KJ Henry. You know what I'm saying? I'm kind of mad that he was, let go, but I know that Nealon was coming back and things like that. So I understand, Michael was coming back. So I definitely understand that. But, I like that Lawson, is remaining consistent, and I think he's a huge pickup. I think I'll say the streak kind of started. I think he kind of returned home when we played Atlanta. So ever since then, I think he had at least a sack a game. Just kind of being a difference maker in that backfield. So I think that was a huge pickup for the Cowboys in this offseason. So yeah, so like I mentioned, as far as next season how things go, we'll see if things change as far as how Jerry is in the offseason, and just how active they are, and then we'll see if that can make a difference. Particularly, as far as if that can make a difference with Mike McCarthy, coaching wise and personnel wise, how things go next season. But as far as this season goes, we're still in this season. We'll see how these Cowboys fare. Against these Cincinnati Bengals, it's going to be a tough game. I'm sure, but Monday night game. Definitely excited to see it. Hopefully these guys come out and show some fight. Excited to see what these guys do, and like I said, with the play calling, and hopefully things can remain consistent as far as the run game. Continue spreading the ball around, and really to see the true test of what this defense can do against an offense like this that's coming in. I think I pretty much hit on everything I want to talk about for this video. I really appreciate everybody joining me. Like I said, hit like, share, subscribe. Happy holidays to everybody. Like I mentioned in the beginning, please thank your local mail carrier and the other delivery person out there working, because definitely busting the tail. So really appreciate everybody coming through, showing love, being active in the chat. And I'll catch you guys the next time I go live. Not really sure, when that will be. But I'll keep your notifications on, and that's that. Cowboys Nation, I really appreciate you guys spending your time with me. Happy holidays. If I don't see you guys before Christmas, I'm sure I'll hop on live before Christmas. But happy holidays. And make sure you guys enjoy, spend time with your family. Spread that holiday cheer, and make sure you guys spend time with the ones you love. Love you guys. Peace out. I'll catch you guys next time. See you.